a man stood on a compressed gas tank, arranging pipes on the truck bed. Suddenly, the tank began to swell and exploded with a loud blast. The truck rocked violently as fire erupted and spread to nearby materials. He was thrown clear, barely escaping the flames. Always ensure proper safety checks. Careful inspection can prevent deadly accidents. At a train station in Russia, a man with a backpack tried to take a shortcut across the tracks. Suddenly, a high-speed train rushed toward him. The horn blared as the train closed in within seconds. In a split second, he dropped flat beneath it and survived by inches. Never risk crossing the tracks. One reckless shortcut can cost your life. In a large packaging factory, a worker in a white shirt was pulling paper near a paper crushing machine when the sheets dragged his hand in. In seconds, he was caught in the moving rollers. His co-workers rushed over, shutting down the machine and pulling him free. Remember to keep a safe distance all the time. Machines can pull faster than you can react. The circus's big carousel spun rapidly as a performer reached for one of the moving rings to climb up. His grip slipped, and the force of the spin hurled him away. He landed hard on the ground, stunned, as the crowd gasped. The carousel kept turning, its lights flashing above him. Always secure yourself. One missed hold can turn a daring act into disaster. In a factory, a male worker stood on the bed of a pickup truck, attaching a magnetic crane to a heavy metal piece. Before he could finish securing it, the crane moved suddenly, dragging the metal and knocking him off the truck. He hit the ground as the metal slammed down beside him, missing by inches. Always ensure equipment is stable before lifting. One sudden move can cost a life. The worker wearing a blue hard hat was inspecting a gas cylinder when the pipe he was checking suddenly exploded. The blast threw him into the air as compressed gas burst out, bringing pieces of the factory ceiling crashing down. Always release pressure and check connections carefully before inspection. A shirtless man moved to help another close the cargo door on a truck when the lift suddenly rose on its own, trapping both men between the platform and the door. Their co-worker ran to the driver's seat and lowered the lift just in time. Always cut power and secure equipment before working. Accidents strike without warning. A motorbike rode too close to a large bulldozer moving ahead. Caught in the machine's blind spot, the bulldozer driver couldn't see or stop in time and ran over the bike. The rider jumped aside just in time, rolling onto the roadside. The bike was crushed under the heavy tread. Stay clear of heavy vehicles. Blind spots can turn seconds into tragedy. The man stood beside a large car tire being inflated when it suddenly exploded. He jumped back just in time, but the tire shot upward and nearly came crashing down on him. The shockwave knocked over nearby tools and echoed through the garage. He stared in disbelief, heart pounding. High-pressure equipment demands caution. One burst can turn safety into chaos. A young worker, distracted by his phone, opened the freight elevator door and stepped forward without looking. There was no lift inside. He plunged straight down the shaft. A moment of distraction can turn routine actions into tragedy. A worker sat on a stack of boards being lifted by a forklift. As the forklift moved, it struck a nearby pile of materials, jolting hard. The boards slipped, sending the worker crashing to the ground beneath them. Tools scattered as others rushed to help him. He groaned in pain, clutching his leg. Never ride on lifted loads. Safety begins with the right position. The crane was moving heavy bags while a worker stood near a deep hole. The load blocked the operator's view and the crane kept moving forward, shoving the worker into the pit. He tried to shout, but the noise drowned him out. Others ran toward the edge as dust rose from below. Always maintain clear sight lines. Limited vision can lead to deadly mistakes. A man stood on a roof covered with corrugated iron sheets, working without any protective gear. Suddenly, the sheet beneath him slipped, dragging him down as it slid off the edge. He grabbed at the frame but couldn't hold on. He hit the ground hard, groaning in pain. Use safety equipment. One unsecured step can lead to a deadly fall. The man was repairing a tire as it was being inflated when it suddenly exploded with a deafening bang. The blast threw him backward, slamming him to the ground and injuring his arm severely. Co-workers rushed to help as he cried out in pain. Always deflate before repair. Pressure can turn a simple task into tragedy. The man was operating an excavator near a large hole, positioning it too close to the edge. Suddenly, the embankment gave way, dragging both the machine and the operator into the pit. The excavator tilted sharply, its arm striking the ground with a loud crash. The man scrambled free, shaken but alive. Keep a safe distance from edges. Unstable ground can give way without warning. In the rain, a man in a raincoat climbed onto an old house to demolish it with a hammer. Suddenly, the chimney beside him collapsed, knocking him off the roof and pinning him to the ground. Luckily, the roof wasn't high, so he escaped serious injury. Always ensure safety when working at height. Unstable structures can collapse anytime. In a cloth factory, a worker was adjusting fabric on a running weaving machine when his hand got caught between the rollers. The machine pulled him in, spinning him violently as he hit the ground again and again. Shut down machines before adjustments. One moment of carelessness can be fatal. At a construction site, a truck was unloading materials when it lost balance. The cargo box tilted, pulling the whole truck over. The driver tried to escape, but before he could, the truck toppled, throwing him out and slamming him to the ground. Always judge the situation carefully. Quick, clear thinking can prevent serious accidents. A male worker was alone in a textile factory, carefully checking the weaving machine's operation. As he reached in too close, the machine caught his hand and dragged his whole body into its spinning rollers. The cycle didn't stop. Never inspect running machines. One wrong move can cost everything. At a construction site, a high-rise building was being demolished without safety lines or barriers. People stood nearby watching, and vehicles passed as usual. Suddenly, the structure gave way, collapsing in a roar of dust and debris. Thick smoke filled the air as workers ran for their lives. Always secure the perimeter and halt nearby activity. Safety zones save lives. In a factory, a worker on scaffolding tried to avoid a raised beam, but it snagged on the structure, dragging him down. He tumbled with the beam, narrowly avoiding being crushed. Dust flew as he hit the floor, shaken but alive. Always secure moving equipment and maintain. The large crane suddenly lost balance, tilting before crashing down. The driver and a man standing on the wheel tried to jump to safety, but the machine fell too fast. One of them was thrown aside, hitting the ground hard. The air filled with dust and the groan of twisted metal. Always stabilize heavy machinery before operation. Once it tilts, there's no time to react. In the middle of a road under repair, a speeding taxi suddenly swerved left as if the driver had lost control. The car slammed into a barrier and plunged straight into an open hole. Always reduce speed and stay alert near construction zones. One wrong turn can lead straight to disaster.